Hello, hope you're okay. Right, this is the first essay technique bit of guidance we're going to give you. It comes from the first exam, but the structure largely, once you get it in your heads, is the same for whatever question you tackle on any of our exams in media studies. So this week you've done the contexts of the Tide advert. We've looked at the contexts of 1950s America, the consumer boom, what happened at the end of the war, with men and women and the household. We've done an analysis of the representations and the media languages in the Tide advert. We've talked about singular identities. We've talked about racial inequalities of power, between men and women. And what we're going to do today is begin building that A-level exam skill set. Sorry about the typo. So the question I'm going to get you to answer is, how are media languages used in the Kiss of the Vampire poster? So largely, when we do a media language question in this subject, there will only ever be one, and it will always be in section A of the first exam. So one of the first questions that you tackle will be the media language question. The media language question is always going to be worth 15 marks, always. And it will always be on an unseen text. But just for the purposes of this exercise, to see how well you've remembered Kiss of the Vampire and the theory going forward, we're going to work on something that we know. It also perhaps makes you feel a little bit more confident if you're just tackling one set of unknowns, like the essay structure, rather than two. So an essay structure with something you'd never seen before. So that's the reason we're doing it this way. Before I take you onto looking at the introduction, I want to show you what the exam paper is actually going to look like. So this is the media studies component one. So this is the first exam you will sit, and all the content that we cover this year will be for this paper. So you'll see it's 2 hours, 15 minutes. If you go down to the information for candidates, it will tell you how long to spend on each section. So 1 hour and 30 minutes on section A, including watching the unseen resources, and then 45 minutes on section B. So section B works out at roughly a minute a mark, because it's 45 minutes and 45 marks. Section A is a bit more woolly. It does depend on how long the screening is that you are given. Don't worry about question 2 and question 3 yet, because we're going to be tackling industry and audience later in the year. So section A is analysing media language and representation. And the first thing you need to look for when you look at this paper is the top left corner here. That will tell you what the first question and what your first unseen text is going to be on. So you will always have an audio-visual resource, and it will always be first. In this case, the media language resource is the audiovisual resource. So it was an advert for This Girl Can, produced by Sport England. Before the exam starts, you'll be given 1 minute to read it. The advert's going to be shown 3 times. It was shown twice in the first year, now it's 3 times, and it tells you exactly what you can do during the screenings. And then you'll have the question. So this question was explore how the combination of elements of media language influences meaning in the This Girl Can advert, and then you can see the number of marks in brackets there is 15. Very briefly, the representation question is always going to be a comparison of something that you know and something that you won't have seen before. So in this year, you can say it was 2 front covers from the Daily Mail and then the Daily Mirror. It gives you the question, compare how these construct versions of reality, and we'll be coming to that particular theory with our next text, which is water aid. It then gives you 3 bullet points to consider as you answer the question, so something just to pin your answer on, and then it tells you how many marks there. So the reason this is worth double the marks is because you're writing on 2 texts, and you have to have that comparison consistently throughout. So that's what section A of the paper will look like. Don't worry about section B yet. We aren't coming to that yet. So as I was saying, the question is, how are media languages used in the Kiss of the Vampire poster? So this document is going to be going up on the Google Classroom, and the document for you to type into will also be up there, and you'll submit your work straight into Google Classroom. Towards the exams, we'll start handwriting our responses so that you can get a sense of how much you can write in the time that you're given. So in terms of writing an introduction, we always say be brief, but pack as much information into your introduction as you can. So this isn't like English where it's a 50 marker and your introduction would be 3/4 of a page. This isn't like GCSE where you're marked for the amount that you write rather than the quality of what you write. Here we say be brief. So we're looking at not really more than 2 sentences for an introduction. And in those 2 sentences, you have to do the following. You have to address the question using key terms from the question, name the text that you're discussing, and give your main argument, naming useful theories and giving useful terms if you can. So I'm going to show you on the next slide a 2-sentence introduction, and I've colour-coded and highlighted the key words. Then I'm going to take you through exactly what I've done in this introduction, and I'm going to show you why it's a grade A introduction. Okay. If at any point you want to pause this, perhaps now is a good time to pause it, get your notes down, move on. Let's do that. Okay, so an example introduction. For the question, how are media languages used in the Kiss of the Vampire poster for 15 marks? Let's demonstrate. So Kiss of the Vampire from Hammer Horror in 1963. So there I am naming the text straight away. Uses key signifiers of the horror genre to appeal to existing fans of the genre. So there I've given my main argument. They want to appeal to existing fans of the genre. However, the producers have also indicated that as well as repetition of existing genre codes, there will also be differences to the narrative and the genre. This is suggested by the word kiss and the encoding of a dominant female, submissive male stereotype. So 2 sentences packed full of information. So that there is an A grade 15-mark introduction. I'm going to take you through now exactly what we did that makes this a grade A. So I'm going to show you how much theory I managed to put into that. So when we have the word signifiers, we're talking about BART. We're using BART's semiotic theory. You don't necessarily need to have the theorist's name in brackets. You don't ever need to explain the theory. Don't ever feel like you need to describe the theory. Instead, what you should be doing is just using those words really fluently. This is why, right from the start of the course, we put emphasis on learning those terms, getting those terms fluently in your head so that they just flow when you start to write. So you have signifiers from Roland Barthes. We've got genre, repetition, and differences from Steve Neal. We then have narrative, which is from Todorov, so we'll be able to discuss disequilibrium later on in the essay. When it says this is suggested by the word kiss, that's an example directly, a clear example from the text that is being studied. The word encoding comes from Hall. And then we have dominant female and submissive male. So there is another example. So I've managed to fit in 5 bits of theory and 2 examples into my 2-sentence introduction. So a good thing to do might be to pause now and plan out an introduction for this essay, okay? Make sure it's different to mine. You don't want to plagiarize. But make sure that you try and implant as much of that theory or as many terms as you can. Okay, so if you want to pause now and take 5-10 minutes to just plan out that introduction, that is absolutely fine. Off you go. Okay, so moving on to the main body of the essay now. If you take a couple of minutes to plan before you start the whole essay, you're then going to be looking at which examples have the most depth, and your essay should also have a bit of structure, and you'll know from the examples that you've chosen what your introduction and your conclusion are going to be. So your conclusion should always match your introduction. For a 15 marker, you're looking at making at least 7 varied points where you give a very clear example, an application of the terms or the theory, and a demonstration of your main argument. So what meaning is created or what is the purpose? Why has that been done? You should apply a wide range of theories and terms to show the breadth of your knowledge. So a range of semiotic language, a range of Stuart Hall's terms, a range of narrative terms. And then you have to explain why these choices have been made. So in terms of the main body of your text, that's kind of what you should be doing in each paragraph. So apply a wide range of theories to show the breadth of your knowledge and explain why the choices have been made in the examples that you've used. So once again, a good thing to do might be to stop now just take a couple of notes. It's worth, like I was saying, as always, write this down, type it up, make sure you have your own version of this PowerPoint so that you have something that you can refer to. Studies show that the more we write stuff down, the more we type stuff out, the more likely it is to go into our heads. Okay, so as I've said, make sure that you apply the relevant theory and the relevant terms in every question that you write. So there is no point writing a representation question and just putting media language theory in because you are not able to get the marks. Likewise, if you're writing a media language answer and you write me a beautiful representation question, I can't give you more than a D because you haven't fulfilled the criteria that the examiner is asking for. The number of times students fall into this trap, it's astounding. We need to kind of get sharp and make sure that we're answering the question that's in front of us. So we know that our media language theorists are Roland Barthes, Claude Lévi-Strauss, Stuart Hall, and Steve Neal. So it's worth, as always, if you're writing at home, get those flashcards in front of you and use them as you write. It is not cheating to have the theory in front of you as you write at this stage. The only times you need to put your notes away are if we ask you to for a timed assessment or in the exam. Other than that, please, please, please use your notes. That's what they're there for. In terms of key terms, you obviously have to use the term media languages. You could use camera work, shot type. We also have these terms here. So I've put 15 key terms, so one term per mark. Why not? Encode, decode, anchor, connote, denote, mise en scène. I've also put you some other alternatives for connote and denote, just in case you get bored of using those words. The shot types, so from mid close-up to long shot to extreme long shot to extreme close-up, repetition, difference, hybridization, narrative, equilibrium, polysemy, binary opposition, and genre. So those are, I would say, 15 of the key terms that you would need to be using in a very basic media language essay. Those of us that have perhaps memorised the theory a bit better might feel more confident about using a wider or broader range of theory or terms beyond the 15 that I give to you. But these 15 largely are the basics. So yeah, take it as one per mark. If you can use one of these and put it with a proper example and use these terms to kind of pry open the question, you'll be onto a winner here. So as I was saying, once again, as always, if you need to, pause it, take a picture, take a screenshot, whatever you need to make sure that you can answer this question strongly. So the task now is to plan 7 points you're using to discuss and answer this question. So you're looking for, particularly when it says how media language is used in the Kiss the Vampire poster, you're looking for how genre and narrative are constructed in the Kiss of the Vampire poster. You could also look for evidence of how binary opposites are constructed or how binary opposites are used in the Kiss of the Vampire poster. There's 3 things there that you could be looking for, and you need to find 7 examples that demonstrate these things using the theory and the terms. So once again, if you want to take 10 minutes to just plan out 7 things you could use to answer this question, get on a group chat. I don't care how you do it. Just make sure that you have 7 points that you feel confident about writing about to answer this question. If you are working in pairs though, don't write together because you will get flagged for plagiarism. Okay, so once you've written the main body of your essay and you've got your examples down, we need to know how to write a conclusion. So your conclusion and your introduction, imagine them like slices of bread at the top and bottom of a sandwich. Okay, so these are the things that bookend your sandwiches. They have to be brief, same as the introduction, no more than 2 sentences. They should mirror each other. So in your conclusion, be brief, address the question using those key terms, and summarize your main argument. So there is no point getting to your conclusion and your final point is loads different from your introduction. If that is happening when you write, you need to go back, and correct your course. Okay, especially in this stage where we're just practicing the writing. It's always worth perhaps writing your conclusion and introduction first, so you know that they're going to match. But in terms of a good, again, grade A conclusion that does all those things and matches the introduction, I'm going to show you how to do this now. So we see here an example conclusion. So 2 sentences. In conclusion, so always bookend your conclusion by doing that, the Kiss of the Vampire poster successfully constructs the supernatural horror subgenre. So I'm using my genre codes and conventions there. By using the phrase subgenre, I'm talking about Neil, by using elements such as bats, a castle, moonlight, and the polysemic fang or stake in the letter V. So there I am pulling out a bunch of examples and using my Roland bar. Okay, so I'm using all my encoding, decoding, my Stuart Hall, as well as my Roland bar there, my semantic codes, my enigma codes, my action codes. And then I said what that does is draws attention from existing fans of the genre and fans of the studio. The producers have, however, also constructed a hybrid genre by encoding romance in the word kiss, and they have expanded the possibilities of the narrative by having a dominant female character. So you will see, if you flick back to the introduction, that the intro and the conclusion match. Okay? So what I've done there is written a successful introduction and a successful conclusion, and now all I've got to do is fill in the blanks in between the two. Okay? If you want to do this in your notebook first before you type it up, by all means do that. I'm going to say, normally I would say a mark a minute. As it is, once you've done your planning, I'm going to say take 30 minutes to write. Okay, I would rather you took the time to write this and do it properly. If you get extra time, you would get 25 minutes extra. So that puts you on about 21 minutes. No, sorry, 30. I can't do that maths. You need to do it for me. So your extra time is 25% extra. 37 minutes? Yeah, that's about right. Why not? So that's what we need you to do for us today. If you can make sure that your essay is in by the deadline that's agreed with your tutor, you need to plan your introduction, 7 paragraphs and conclusion, then write your essay and submit your essay on Google Classroom. So next time we see you, we'll be taking you through the mark scheme, and we'll be marking this with you in class, and we'll also be comparing it with past examples and other people in the class, and we're going to be learning from each other. Okay, well done this half term. You've all done phenomenally well. We're really proud of all of you. Let's round off this half term with a really strong first piece of writing. Okay, bye.